What's up guys, and welcome back. I appreciate you being here. Today's video I want to talk about living in Flagstaff and the differences between living on the east side or the west side. So when you come to Flagstaff, do you know where you want to live? Today I'm going to talk about some pros and some cons on either side and let you be the judge on where you might want to live. So if you don't know already, kind of the divide and where most people separate the east side of Flagstaff to the west side of Flagstaff is Ponderosa Parkway. And so if you are on the I-40 and you get off at the Butler exit and you just keep going straight towards the mountain, once you hit East Route 66, that's kind of the divide there. There's a Starbucks there. There's a, Jiffy Lube. It's all right there at the intersection. That's Ponderosa Parkway. And so anything east of that is the east side typically. Anything west of that is the west side. All right, so I'm gonna first get into the cons, and I'll break them down from the east side to the west side. These are in no particular order. And again, sometimes like the pro for one side is a con for the other, and a con for one side is a pro for the other. It kind of just depends on what you're looking for and the lifestyle that you wanna live and the places that you wanna be. Okay, so cons for the east side, I would say one of them is you're farther away from a lot of the stores and restaurants and stuff, especially the east side also includes Doney Park, which technically isn't in the city of Flagstaff. You'll still have a Flagstaff address and people consider it Flagstaff, but Doney Park is in the far east side, out on Highway 89. And if you're looking at it on the map, you're on Highway 89, you get out of the city, you pass the Townsend-Winona Road and keep going straight, and out in that area where it's more open. A lot bigger lots out there. People will have an acre, multiple acres, a lot of horse properties, farms and things like that. So Doney Park is a place where a lot of people like to live because they like that kind of isolated living, away from people, away from neighbors next door. There's no like cookie cutter subdivisions out there. But one thing with that is you're a lot farther from town, right? If you want to go into a restaurant, if you want to go to the store, it might take you an extra 10-15 minutes, which isn't much, but in Flagstaff that's kind of a lot because we don't have a ton of traffic like bigger cities. But definitely you're a little more isolated out there on the east side. Another con is so Nestle Purina has one of their main factories here in Flagstaff where they cook and create dog food. So one of the things on the east side is sometimes when they're cooking dog food, you can smell it and it just smells like hot dog food. And it's not all the time, but it depends on which way the wind's blowing in the day and whatnot. But first time I smelled that, it totally grossed me out, and I didn't want to be anywhere near that if I'm gonna have my windows open at my house. But some people, it doesn't bother them at all. For me, I just that's not my thing. So something to think about and worry about maybe if you're gonna look at the east side. East side also has a little bit more crime. Both sides of town have crime, but it's not overly more unsafe to be on the east side of town. But there are a couple more neighborhoods that are probably the more high in crime, I would say, for Flagstaff. So depending on which neighborhoods you're going to be on the east side, you just kind of want to be sure of where you're at and what neighborhood you might be buying into, and making sure that that's a safe area for you. I mean, there's definitely totally safe and awesome neighborhoods on the east side. There's probably just a little bit more. If I had to say which one out of the two, east side or west side, has more crime, I would say east side. And again, I think the biggest thing, kind of going back to being so isolated, is you just don't have as many of the main stores and restaurants like you would on South Milton Road, and you don't have the downtown area on the east side. So if you're looking to do that and have a little bit more nightlife, a little bit more energy, I guess, you probably want to be on the on the west side. But the people that live out on the east side, if you don't want to be near that, that's an awesome place for you to be. And like I said, there's a lot of flexibility in neighborhoods. So those are some cons of living on the east side. And now I'll get into the cons on the west side. So with cons, living on the west side of Flagstaff, first of all, it's more crowded. There's just a lot more people, a lot more housing, especially a lot more apartment complexes, a lot of student housing complexes that have been going up over the last couple of years around the university. So living on the west side of Flagstaff is definitely more crowded. You're gonna have a lot more people there. And in addition to that, another con would be that creates a lot more traffic. So the main thoroughfare coming into Flagstaff, especially from the Phoenix area, is I-17, and that I-17 turns directly into South Milton Road, which is kind of like the main drag when you come into Flagstaff. That's where a lot of your big department stores are, a lot of your restaurants, and that's also where the university is too, NAU. So with the traffic, you get a lot of tourist traffic, especially in the summertime on the major holidays and holiday weekends. You got a lot of people coming into town. You're gonna have a ton of traffic during the winter for Arizona Snow Bowl. So, people coming up into Flagstaff, people going to the mountain, people leaving the mountain in the afternoon really backs things up. And then obviously the university. So big weekends are like move-in week where traffic is insane. You have like homecoming, you have family weekend, you have graduation for commencements each semester, and those bring in a ton of traffic. So there's pretty much always something going on that's bringing traffic into Flagstaff, and especially on the west side. So that's something that you got to deal with, and that's part of living on the west side. With another con being is the university. So some people might look at that as a pro, some people look at that as a con. They don't want to be around the university that's going to attract 10, 15,000 college kids, and just the additional traffic, the additional pedestrians, the additional bicyclists, the additional parties at night around the neighborhoods that surround the university. So some people look at the university as just an unnecessary evil, and some people look at it as a nice asset to have in town. So it kind of depends on how you see that, but some people would definitely say that as a con of living on the west side. And then I think altogether it's probably a little bit more expensive living on the west side. You have some other like real high profile expensive neighborhoods on the west side, and you're closer to the university, so there's just a lot more people that need to be at work at the university. You've got the hospital on the west side, you've got downtown on the west side, so it just requires more people, and housing is limited, so it just makes it a little bit more expensive than living on the east side. All right, we got the cons out of the way. Now let's end on a positive note. Let's look at the pros for living on the east side. So one of the things I would say about the east side is there's probably more true locals that live on the east side of Flagstaff. That's people that were born and raised here in Flagstaff, especially out in the Doney Park area. But you have some older neighborhoods on the east side, and some awesome neighborhoods, especially like the Country Club neighborhood, Fox Glen, anything north of like Upper Greenlaw. Those are beautiful houses up in there. But it kind of feels like there's more of a vibe of long-term locals or people that were born and raised here that live on the east side. To hit on another pro, there's just a lot of cool neighborhoods, a lot of the older build houses, and so you just kind of have that cool architecture of some of those older neighborhoods and some of those houses, and they've just been around for so long. They've got big tall trees, they've got the parks already established, a lot of the schools, and so that's something that a lot of people really like to have. They like to have that mountain living, that feel, so they'll go to the east side. A pro, we kind of talked about this in the cons, but the pro for some people is it's less crowded, right? You don't have downtown, you don't have South Milton Road, you don't have the university, so you don't have as much people crowded around you, much stuff going on, and you can kind of really enjoy those quiet mountain nights, and get to know your neighbors without a ton of different rentals or something coming in because of the university. So some people like that, especially out in the Donny Park area, and that's probably my last pro is Donny Park. If you want those beautiful mountain views, those open lands, I mean, that's the place to go. You can go and get a 1 acre lot, 2 acre lot. You can have horses, you can have goats, chickens. So a lot of people like being out there just because they're away from everything, and it's kind of like old school living Flagstaff back in the day before it got bigger and it got as crowded as it's been. So those are definitely some pros of living on the east side, and we'll get into some pros for the west side. Again, things kind of that we've already touched on. Downtown, like downtown is a fun place to go. There's a lot of bars, restaurants. That's where a lot of the activities are gonna happen. The parades, the First Friday art walks, the movies on the square down in Heritage Square over the summertime. So there's just a lot happening downtown, of course, and that's where a lot of people want to go and hang out. So it's cool to just go down there, people watch, have a drink, and just hang out. Milton Road, again, Milton Road you're going to have more access to restaurants, bars, shopping, just a little bit more energy there on Milton Road, and it gives you everything that you would need, shopping wise or food wise, whatever. Another pro on the west side is, again, NAU, and like I said, some people might look at NAU as a con, but NAU just brings a lot of energy. There's a lot of events that happen on campus. Campus is a beautiful place. It's open to the public, so you can go there and hang out and just enjoy the beautiful scenery that the university has. But again, there's concerts, there's events, there's public speakers, obviously all the athletics, the games, football games, basketball games, volleyball, soccer. So it's just cool to be around. I think it's cool. I like spending time watching athletics and the different things that the university brings. They'll do a lot of youth tournaments, like soccer tournaments, flag football tournaments, and a lot of those things will be held on campus. So, just things to do and gives you some options. And the last thing I think is cool is the airport. The Flagstaff Airport is really cool. The Pulliam Airport. We now have 3 different destinations that you can fly to out of Flagstaff. You can fly to Phoenix, you can fly to Denver, you can fly to Dallas. And the airport is great, man. They got one terminal, you can go in there, go through the one terminal. It takes you like 5 minutes to go through security. And you can park your car there for free. I heard that's going to change here shortly. They're actually going to start doing pay for parking because people would just park their cars there and leave them there forever. But it's just so easy to get in and out, and right now you can still park your car there for free. And a lot of times, when you compare it to flying out of Phoenix, typically it's about $70 to $90 more per person to fly out of Flagstaff. But when you think about having to pay that, money for gas, pay for parking, and just having to drive 2 hours, especially on your way back, it just kind of sucks. But the airport is cool. It's right there on the west side, on the south side of town. And so it's another perk, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of traveling, whether for work or for pleasure. It makes it easy to zip in and zip out, and you can be, into the airport within a couple of minutes from anywhere on the west side. So those are my pros and those are my cons for living on the east side or the west side. Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about, a lot more different neighborhoods. If you have any questions on certain neighborhoods or any questions on east side versus the west side, just reach out to me. Give me a phone call, email, text message, whatever. Put a comment down below, and then I'll try to break down some of the more neighborhoods and different things going on in town. But that was just kind of like a brief video of what to expect on either side, the west side or the east side. So hopefully that helps you guys if you're moving to Flagstaff or you're renting in Flagstaff or thinking about spending any time here. And again, if you have any real estate needs, any investment needs in terms of real estate, give me a call and I can be glad to help you out. All right, appreciate you. Take care. Bye.